တောက်ပတဲ့အနာဂတ်ဆိုတာလူငယ်တွေနဲ့ပညာရေးပေါ်မှာအမြဲတည်ရှိတတ်မြဲပါဖိလစ်ပိုင်နိုင်ငံရဲ့တနေရာမှာတော့ပညာတတ်လူငယ်တွေကသူတို့ရဲ့အနာဂတ်ကိုအချိန်ပြည့်ရှာဖွေစူးစမ်းနေကြပါတယ်ရာနဲ့ကြီးတဲ့ nursing ကျောင်းသူကျောင်းသားတွေဟာဘွဲ့ရပြီးတဲ့နောက်အမိနိုင်ငံကိုခွဲပြီးတခြားနိုင်ငံတွေမှာအလုပ်ရှာဖို့သွားကုန်ကြတယ်နိုင်ငံတွင်းမှာထက်လစာခွင့်လန်းပိုကောင်းတဲ့တခြားနိုင်ငံတွေမှာသွားရှာကြပါတယ်အကြောင်းကတော့ကိုယ့်နိုင်ငံတွင်းမှာအလုပ်ခွင့်လန်းနေနည်းလို့ပါပဲဘယ်လိုပဲဖြစ်ဖြစ်ပါတကယ်တမ်းတော့တခြားနိုင်ငံတစ်နိုင်ငံမှာအလုပ်သွားလုပ်ဖို့ပညာသင်ယူရတယ်ဆိုတာခက်ခဲပြီးစိတ်ကူးရင်အိမ်မက်တစ်ခုမဖြစ်နိုင်လာပါဘူး
Sometimes they don't treat you as a nurse. They treat you as their yayas. And it's hard to deal with patients like in a private hospital.
When people paint a picture of a nurse as an angel, somebody who's kind and humble and stuff like that, it overlooks their value as professionals because a nurse is a professional just as a doctor is, and we have our own profession, we have our own body of knowledge, and that's something that's not very widely acknowledged because of this whole image of the nurse as doctor's handmaiden.
အခုဆိုရင်တချို့ဆရာဝန်တွေတော့ nursing ကျောင်းကိုပြန်တက်ရောက်သင်ယူနေကြပါတယ်
I had a teacher in nursing school who was a surgeon for many years before he became a nurse, and he said that maybe he was just joking. He suddenly said that he stopped shouting at nurses since he'd become a nurse, and he understood that it wasn't all that easy. It's actually possibly a good thing for the nursing profession in the sense that we have here a whole lot of doctors who suddenly understand what it's like to be a nurse.
နိုင်ငံခြားမှာအလုပ်ရဖို့ဒီအခက်အခဲကြီးကိုအောင်မြင်အောင်အားကိုးကြိုးပမ်းနေရတာကလူငယ်တွေရဲ့တစ်ခုတည်းသောမိကိုအားထားရအကြောင်းအရာတစ်ခုဖြစ်လို့နေပါတယ်
So I think it's just economics. Since right now, look, you have 400,000 nurses who are not getting hired or they don't want to get into hospitals because they paid very low wages. So they'd rather be in call centers rather than to be a nurse.
ဒီလိုမျိုး nurse တွေဟာကိုဖိလစ်ပိုင်နိုင်ငံသားတွေကိုခြံထားခဲ့ရပြီးတခြားနိုင်ငံသားတွေကိုတွားရောက်ပြုစုနေရတဲ့အဖြစ်ကနေလွတ်မြောက်နိုင်ဖို့တခြားခွင့်လန်းတွေများရှိပါဦးမလားလွယ်တော့မလွယ်လှပါဘူး
Nurses here starting work will earn anything from a range of 6,000 pesos a month to 18,000 pesos a month. And it's the private hospitals that pay worse because they're not subsidized by the government. They exist mainly to make a profit, I guess. I mean, apart from their mission and vision, profit is their purpose. Compare that with a nurse in the United States who could earn anything from 150,000 to 250,000 pesos a month. And you already know why people are falling all over each other trying to go abroad.
It's very hard being a nurse here in the Philippines. And the hospitals, if you want to train with them, you have to pay them a fee around 2,000 to 5,000 pesos for around 3 months just to be able to train there. So what the training there is like, you're just like a staff nurse, but you don't get paid. It's actually the reverse. You pay them so that you can work for them. So it sucks.
And then you also have workload. In the Philippines, I trained at the Lung Center of the Philippines for 3 months, and nurses at the intensive care unit would be in charge of 6 to 12 patients at a time. Whereas in the US, I don't think you can handle more than 3 intensive care patients at once.
တကယ်မှာတော့သူတို့တွေအားလုံးအတွက်အိမ်မက်တွေဖြစ်လာနိုင်မှုဆိုတာနိုင်ငံတွင်းမှာကောနိုင်ငံပြင်ပမှာပါခက်ခဲလာပါတယ်
I don't know if it was bad luck plus bad decisions. I finished studying nursing 2 years ago. That was March 2006, and it's already September 2008. As it happened, I took the board exam, the Philippine Nursing Licensure exam, at the time when there was that leakage controversy. So I was one of the people who, advocated taking the whole exam the next year, which meant that I gave up my June 2006 license in favor of a June 2007 license. So that's 1 year wasted. I suppose it's mostly bad luck that has kept us here, that has kept those of us who have not been able to find opportunities, still here.
The reality is there's a shortage of visas for nurses to go abroad. So right now we're stuck here.
Nurse Luz အတွက်ဆိုရင်တော့သူ့ရဲ့ပထမဦးဆုံးနိုင်ငံခြားအတွေ့အကြုံဟာသူမျှော်လင့်ခဲ့တဲ့အတိုင်းမဖြစ်ခဲ့ပါဘူး
To Saudi, when I got there, the first thing that came into my mind, I cried because I don't speak Arabic, and then they speak to me Arabic, and then I cried because somebody, one of my patients, told me, if they don't speak Arabic, you go back to the Philippines. I told him, okay, I'll go back. Maraming struggles, like you should deal with their cultures, their attitude, the way they treat you also. It's different. Iba talaga pag sa Pilipinas ka.
ဒီလိုစိန်ခေါ်မှုတွေရှိနေတဲ့ကြောင့်ဒီအိမ်မက်တွေဟာလူငယ်တော်တော်များများစီပြန်တန်းသွားနေစေပါအဲ့ဒီအိမ်မက်တွေဟာလည်းတခြားနိုင်ငံတွေအတွက်ပဲဖြစ်နေတတ်ပါတယ်ဒီဆိုရတဲ့အချက်တဲကနေသူတို့ဘာတွေများမျှော်လင့်ထားကြမလဲ
If the government, I should say, na bigyan pansin mga nurses, wala nang lalabas ng bansa.
If we in the Philippines persist in treating our nurses so badly, paying them so badly, not treating them like the professionals they are, well, I guess we get what we deserve. Sometimes people say, you're nurses, you should care about other people's health more than making a decent living. That's ridiculous. I'm sorry, I just can't care about other people when, I'm not even earning enough to support myself. So you can't really expect nurses to stay here, slug it out. They still say this to this day. Don't leave the country, serve your fellow men first. But even if we wanted to, there are no jobs available. It's disingenuous to portray nurses as self-serving, heartless people who just care about themselves when we can't even get jobs here if we wanted to.
The shortage of nurses here in the Philippines, nakaka-endanger ng life. Kasi if you really like na mag-take up ka ng nursing, sana nasa puso mo. Huwag yung isipin mo yung dollar sign kasi mahirap. And then, yung mga gustong mag-take up ng nursing dahil gustong yumaman, please, huwag na kayo mag-take up ng nursing kasi that will endanger your patient's life.
People see that, I haven't really gotten anything out of it yet. But I still think it's coming. It might take a long time, much longer than I had programmed.
နောက်ဆုံးတော့ခွင့်လန်းကောင်းတွေရဖို့ဆိုပြီးနိုင်ငံကိုစွန့်ခွာသွားကုန်ကြတယ်နိုင်ငံခြားမှာလို့ဝင်ငွေခွင့်လန်းကောင်းတွေရအောင်နိုင်ငံတွင်းမှာလုပ်ဖို့ဆိုတာကတော့နိုင်ငံတစ်နိုင်ငံလုံးရဲ့လက်ထဲမှာရှိပါတယ်တကယ်ဖြစ်ချင်ရင်တကယ်လို့အဟုတ်ဖြစ်နိုင်ဖို့ဖိလစ်ပိုင်နိုင်ငံကြီးတင်းမျက်စိတွေဖွင့်လို့ထားပါတော့တင်းမျက်စိတွေဖွင့်လို့ထားပါတော့
When you were born into this world, your mom and dad saw a dream fulfilled, dream come true, the answer to the prayer. Were to them a special child, you gave them joy every time you smiled.